I'm ready too. Can't come fast enough here. Look, pass these out. Cannot come fast enough. It's good? Yeah. Right, thanks.
Keep them going.
Here you go. Can we lift this up higher? Does this just go higher? Yeah. Sure. Hold on to the.
To what?
To the arms.
Go ahead. I'm not good at these things. I'm not a extender user.
All right. Good.
How many cinders at the top?
All right. Yeah. Bum 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 bum. Ba-da-dum 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 la 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 la. Ay la 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 la. Bum 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 ba-dum ba. La 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 la. Bum 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 bum. Ay ay ay. Bam bam ba dum ba ba da la 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 la. Hey ah la la dum ba da la dum ba 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 da la 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 la. Hey la 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 ba ba ay la 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 la. Everyone, good morning. We're going to be learning today Leilui Nishmas Miriam Bat. What's the name over here? Miriam Bat Shmuel. Miriam Bat Shmuel. Miriam Bat Shmuel. Oh no, this is too crazy.
Bring my phone and watch it on the phone.
Yeah. No, this is too nuts. This is too. I have to see them. I'm sorry. I love you, but I have to see these guys. I have to see. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Take it. No, it's too crazy. Thank you, though. Thank you. Okay. Sorry to all those that I'm causing them to be dizzy right now. 1 second. Okay. Yeah. Well, perfect. Perfect. Actually, thank you. Thank you. That's big. Thank you so much. All right, Miriam Bat Shmuel. This is my dear friend Yeshua Weitzman, Josh Weitzman's Bubby from Kansas City, who's just niftaris this week. Made it through the war, perseverance, raising a Jewish family after the ashes. Neshama should have it at the end. We continue. Today's the 7th day. Today's the end of the Shiva of for Meir ben Yitzchak. The words also should be Leilui Nishmato, Meir ben Yitzchak, Meir Banai. We're doing a very short, beautiful piece. It's a classic piece. It's the first piece in the Mei Hashiloach on this parsha. It's very simple. When you're looking for a leader today in Am Yisrael, all right, well, I should say, when I say the word leader, it's a very confusing word. If you think of any political leader, any kind of even rabbinic leader, when you ask them if they're fit for the job, so what do they say in today's day and age with today's, in today's any form of elections in the world for anything? Right? We haven't yet reached a level of society that really wants someone who feels that they're not worthy, who knows that they could do it, but they feel that they're not worthy. If we see someone that shows any signs of feeling I'm not worthy, what do we say about him? He's not leadership material, because we need someone that could, is going to be confident enough, l'shem shamayim, to say, there's no one greater than me that can do that. Like there's a person in Washington that says, I'm the greatest God. All these statements, we've never heard a statement like this before in terms of confidence. Like it's such a crazy thing, and it takes people. But when Moshe Rabbeinu is approached to be the leader, we see how a Jewish leader responds to the call of leadership. Moshe Rabbeinu, the most humble of all men, does not hide from the. It might seem al pi pshat that he's trying to get away with not doing his shlichus in the world. Because what's his response to Hashem when Hashem tells him, you're the guy? How does he respond? What does he say? Huh? Right, but what else does he say? He says even, not just who am I, he says, tell my brother, Shlach na b'yad na tishlach. Tell my brother to do the job. But that's not what he's not really saying to us. I'm trying to run away from that. He's saying, I really don't believe in my inside that who am I? Mi anochi. So this first interaction by the burning bush is what the Ishbitzer is going to be learning with us right now. The way that what Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem and what Hashem answers him is just so beautiful. And I wanted to do this as we enter in Sefer Shmot together. Such a beautiful way of understanding the dynamics between Moshe Rabbeinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and hopefully between us and Hashem as well. Vayomer Moshe, mi anochi ki alech, v'chi otzi b'nei Yisrael me'et Mitzrayim. He's saying, who am I to go? Who am I to do this job that you're telling me to do? And then, v'chi, and then we're going to take them out, and then what? And then what? So look what the Ishbitzer says. Hainu shaya shoel shnei dvarim. Moshe Rabbeinu was essentially asking two different things. Mi anochi, who am I? Hainu shehaya mevakesh me'Hashem yitbarach sheyair lo mipnei ma hu hanivchar lig'ol yoter mikol Yisrael. Such a beautiful thing. Isn't this beautiful? Heartbreakingly beautiful. He's saying, when he says, who am I? You know those rabbis that get up to, they're honored at a dinner, or they're invited to come and give a speech somewhere, and they get up in the first 5 minutes, they talk about, oh my God, I'm so not worthy, and it's just like, I'm embarrassed to even be here, and I apologize, there's so much greater people here, and I'm not on the level, and then they pull out like a 30-page Megillah of what they've prepared, because they're so not ready and not on the level to say anything, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is not saying, who am I? Because he's trying to show God that he's humble. Moshe Rabbeinu is asking God, when he's saying, who am I? He's saying, can you please can you please enlighten into me to show me why I was chosen to redeem Am Yisrael more than anybody else? Because why? I can't see it. On my own, when I compare myself to anyone else in Am Yisrael, I can't understand why it's me that's doing this, why you've chosen me for this. So please, if we're going to do this, if we're going to be together, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to do the shlichus, you have to shine into me a little bit. What do you see in me? That's what he's saying. What do you see in me? When you look at your child, and you have to really ask Hashem at that moment, Hashem Yisbarach, look at this beautiful piece of holiness. What do you see in me that you think that I can tell this child about who you are? Look at what do you see in me? This is what Moshe Rabbeinu is asking God. That's the first question he's asking Kadosh Baruch Hu. Because again, when I look at anybody else, it seems to me that anybody else could do this gig. So you have to explain to me a little bit, what is it that you see in me that I'm chosen more than anyone else to do this job? That's one, which I found to be just the way the Ishbitzer is saying. I never learned it like that ever. The Mei Hashiloach, his way of understanding these conversations, it's just so magical, it's so beautiful. Now the second thing is and then let's say I take them out. I take them out of Mitzrayim. Hainu emet. It's true, ki avidu otam b'parech v'haraui she'igalu. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying essentially it's true. Am Yisrael have been suffering for so long, and they're ra'ui, they are suitable, meaning they deserve to be redeemed. Rak afal pichen, but nonetheless, ma yek she'otziam. What'll be when I take them out? Halo zot betach ein kavanas Hashem Yisbarach shiutav lehem rak ba'olam hazeh. Can't be that God, you just want Am Yisrael to be free so that they could have a good time in this world. So Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to understand, when you told me you're going to take them out, I'm going to take them out, but for what? This is before Hashem tells him, I have a plan for you. And it's much longer than just, stopping to be a slave. Because we know that anyone that thinks that I'm just going to stop being addicted to something, you're not free. Let's say you stop an addiction. Are you free? No, you're still a slave to the addiction, but you're just not doing it. The real redemption from something is when the way that that whole obsession that I had with it, even if I'm not doing it anymore, it's not where my brain and my mind is all day long. So Moshe Rabbeinu is saying, Am Yisrael, you could take them out of Mitzrayim and they won't be slaves, there won't be whips above them anymore, but there's got to be more. You just don't want them to not be slaves. What else is there? And maybe Hashem Yisbarach didn't want to tell God yet. Didn't want to tell Moshe Rabbeinu yet about the plan. But he sees that Moshe Rabbeinu is like pushing his button. He's like, really? Why do you want them out? Why do you want them out? Ve'al zeh heshivo Hashem Yitbarach. So now Hashem starts answering. So first of all, we understand the way the Mei Hashiloach is explaining these two questions. One, what's the first question? Can you please tell me what you see in me? That you're choosing me, that we're even having this conversation. Okay? That's one. The second thing is, and what's the point of just not being slaves? Can't be that your thing, God, is freedom of like, I don't got to do anything anymore. There must be something deeper for this whole Inyan that you're doing right now with Am Yisrael.
It's the whole thing with like with Yehuda and Yosef that you have to draw things from Hashem. So you're also like Moshe's drawing things. He's drawing the answers from
Right.
Hashem. It's like his.
Well, how do you see about Yehuda and Yosef?
Well, we said like that Yehuda like he put it out on the table and then
Right.
Yosef said.
Right, yeah, absolutely. It's very beautiful. We've been seeing these themes of that the last few parashiyot of Bereshit really prepared us for Shmot. We saw it earlier in the week in other shiurim. And it's very true. The whole mifgash of Yehuda and Yosef was like, it's interesting you use that word draw. To draw something out. You'll see it in a second. Dafka that word. This is what Hashem answers him. Ala she'ela mi anochi. Who am I? What do you see in me? Heshiv lo. Ki eheyeh imach. You're someone that I can be with. Now, what do we know in Chazal saying about someone that God says, I can't be with him? Ein ani v'hu. What's the lashon there? Ein ani v'hu yacholim ladur yachad. About someone with a certain midah that God says, I can't be with a person like this. Does anyone know? Huh? Katz says you take yourself out of the picture, but huh?
Stealing? Or gava?
Gava, pride. It says ein ani v'hu. I think the lashon is ein ani v'hu yacholim ladur yachad. This is I can't chill with this guy. So Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, listen, you're asking why me? Well, I'm just letting you know, you're someone that I could be with. Why? Hainu machmat sheyidaticha ki eincha noteh l'shum davar mitzidcha. You have no ulterior motives. You're not trying to do anything for your own covet. Nothing. You don't do anything that's about you. It's never about you. Rak lema shani sholech lecha. You're going to be a real shliach that never gets caught up with himself. You're a completely mevutal person. You have completely, somehow, now, I don't know how this happened. We don't know that much of how that actually happened. But the state that Moshe Rabbeinu reaches here is absolutely, he's already here. It's not about him. God says, since you're a guy that it's mamish not about you, you and I can chill. You're the guy, I could be with you. We could do stuff together, because I see this in you.
We see it so far. What he's done until now. He's a prince. He goes out and he sees, somebody, whipping a Jew, and he's like, "This is too much," and he responds. And he does it again with the two people arguing, and does it again to save two goals.
Right.
It's like, okay, this is what needs to be done in this situation.
Nachon. We know, but we only know a little bit.
Yeah.
How much do we really know? This is Perek Bet over here, right? Of Shmot. How much do we really know? We don't know a lot. But yeah, the little that we do know shows us that this guy, that this person, this holy human being is completely plugged into something that's much greater than himself. By the way, someone called me after listening to the Bnei Machshava Tova shir and online, and they said to me the following. They said, I think I have a definition of what it means to have a spiritual thought. I'm like, wow, please bring it on. Right? So he said, it's the thoughts where you're completely not caught up with yourself. Thoughts where you're not the center of the attention. Very interesting, huh, Binyamin? That helps a little bit. I said, wow, I gotta tell the guys. Because we were struggling with trying to understand what a spiritual, godly thought is. So thoughts that, it's not that you don't think about yourself, but that you're not the center of that thought. So Moshe Rabbeinu, I guess his whole mindset, his mindfulness was completely purified and instilled with it's not about me type of energy. So Hashem says, I see that when I look at you. Therefore, you and I can do stuff together. Now, he explains it though. He says, this is really alluded to in the name of Moshe Rabbeinu. How? Ki Shem Moshe, the name Moshe, Moreh al zeh. Ki min hamayim meshitihu. That he was, Moshe, what does Moshe mean? The actual word Moshe? Drawn. Avi, that's what I was saying. He was able to draw out from God deeper and deeper meaning to things because he himself was drawn out from the water. Moshe, ki min hamayim meshitihu, hainu, shenifshat mikol chemda v'hana'at atzmo. He was completely removed from any type of self-hana'ah, self-enjoyment. ולא נמצא בו שום גאות ממה שהשכינה מדברת עמו. And there was no geut, meaning gaiva, pride at all, pride in a negative way, from the fact that Shekhinah was speaking from his throat, meaning he realized it had nothing to do with him. Many of us, we'd realize Shekhinah speaking out of our voice. What's the first thing we might think? Wow, we might not be as bad as we thought we were. He's not even going there. That's not even part of what happens to him when he maybe he never even realized that the Shekhinah is speaking from his throat. But this is what the Ishbitzer is saying. You're completely removed from you. You're completely removed from you. And when a person is completely removed from you, then there's place for them to be an absolute shliach.
It's not the Ma'ala isn't that he was completely removed. He was being him, but being him in enough space so his mental was that he could be strong. He got the level that he purified that he was actually himself, but at the same time himself had no idol that kicked.
Yeah, we're not saying he wasn't himself. We're explaining that his self was completely mevutal to Hashem. Completely. So it's not like he had enough space to let God in. That's all he had, was room to let God in. Like, what are we always working on to make more space in us? Lo kam b'Yisrael ke Moshe od. There was never anyone like Moshe Rabbeinu. What are we speaking about when we say there was no one like Moshe Rabbeinu? What element of Moshe Rabbeinu has never existed since then? Anava. This complete removal of self. But that was him. That was the real him.
So funny. We're so. I think that's as. I'll speak for myself. Whenever I look at like this midah anava, we're all worried about the same thing. I'm worried that being too anav, people are gonna walk all over me.
Yeah.
And we don't think about how much gava trips us up
It's
way
true.
more. I think if I was gonna say what you're saying, I think when you're totally anav, it allows you to connect to Hashem more, and then in other words, your expression is, your individual expression is much brighter because you're connected to your source.
Further, exactly what you're saying. When you really are filled with real anava, not the kind of anava that we get confused with, you don't let anyone walk over you because in your eyes, they're walking on God. They're trampling on Hashem. So even the cover that you're demanding has nothing to do with you. See, if Moshe Rabbeinu was the anav, the way that we think of anava, and Paro says, "No, I'm not letting you leave." So what should he say? Okay, you're right. But because it's not about him, right? Meaning mitzad atzma, from himself. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. We have that in certain cultures. It's nothing to do with him, so he doesn't let anyone trample over Hashem.
So how do we see the difference between such an elevated, developed human as opposed to an angel that could walk into power and represent God as an angel?
Meaning, how is it? What's your question?
The question is, so there's an issue here where Moshe Rabbeinu has this bittul,
Right.
but as a human who's developed himself
Right.
to a point that he's still that human. That he's still that clean.
Right. He goes to the bathroom. He eats. He's here.
He has a.
Right.
He's developed his nefesh.
Right.
To the level. But he's managed to do it. You still look at Kaddish and say, well, you need to explain this.
Right. It's very interesting what you're saying.
Maybe I phrased it incorrectly.
No, I understand it now. I understand what you're saying now.
Okay.
Sure.
He's not an angel. He's not a guy.
No.
Who said,
No, because an angel doesn't ask. An angel gets sent on a shlichus. They don't say, "Can you explain to me why you're choosing me?" No, an angel.
I think it's like if Hashem spoke through, it wouldn't be a guy that would go, "Wow, I'm so great." I think we'd be flattened completely. We would lose all our ability to have a will.
Right. It's very good what you're saying. It's very, very deep what you're saying. Now I get it. Yeah. So let's just sharpen the question. How do you reach that level? Is that the question? Come on Sundays and Tuesdays. That's what we're working on. Spiritual thoughts, filling our consciousness with spiritual thoughts. That's exactly what we're trying to work on. How do you get to that level? It's a this inyan of anava psula, of false anava, is a very deep thing. It's not a simple thing. This concept of, because you could fool yourself so easily thinking that you're plugged into humility, and you can let people walk all over you in the name of humility, and not only is everyone else laughing at you, God's looking at you also and saying, what?
It's not even false, but you can't protect.
Right. So kind of what I was asking in the beginning was, what do we know about what Moshe Rabbeinu did in the world up to this point to reach a place of asking questions like this and being in this level? That's what I want. That's what I really want to know.
Well, he questions his whole existence because he was brought up a different way.
Right.
He wasn't brought up this way.
Right.
So you know he must be this type of person.
It's true. He grows up in a place in a house where he feels his own DNA and saying, I don't connect to anything that's going on here.
Baal Tshuva.
Huh?
Classic Baal Tshuva.
Like, this is not my, and it leads him to eventually, seek out. The truth is, the Midrashim are filled with stories about Moshe Rabbeinu growing up in Beit Paro. A lot. On Monday night shir that we had at Toby's, we basically, the whole first page was just a whole different perspective of what it was like, Moshe Rabbeinu really coming down to Egypt and seeing his brothers and taking care of business. So the Midrashim are filled with hints to help us understand what is it exactly how does a person, what did he do? What was he busy with? Who was he connected to? What was he involved with? So, but al derech ha'avoda, like we could look at this teaching and say, wow, what a beautiful teaching in Ishbitzer. Now I know more about Moshe Rabbeinu, I understand the conversation deeper. That's one. Two is, how in the world do I get there too? So I feel bemet that our avoda that we do on Sundays and Tuesdays is really trying to get us to fill ourselves with the space to have this kind of relationship with Hashem too. But Moshe Rabbeinu was the greatest example we could ever have until Mashiach comes. Lo kam b'Yisrael k'Moshe od. There was never, it's good to know what we're saying in Yigdal. What does that mean? Lo kam b'Yisrael k'Moshe od. So, there was no one ever greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. No, there was probably no one ever lower than Moshe Rabbeinu on a certain level, that he held himself to be absolutely nothing, just so that there could be absolute space to fill HaKadosh Baruch Hu in. So Hashem,
You know how we know that there's a difference between him and Allah? Because he doesn't always do things the way Hashem guides him. The whole thing with the water where he goes, supposed to be drawing the water from a rock and he hits the rock. So we know that.
That's the lesson.
That's the lesson, even more. Yeah, that's how we know.
It's almost like
that's how we know. Like,
the ultimate of, because he's not a malach, because it's not and
Right.
almost,
Even more. Hershey, let's go even earlier.
Yeah.
The last pasuk of this parsha, last two pasukim of this parsha, is what? What does Moshe Rabbeinu tell God? Lama hare'osa la'amazeh. How could you do this to your people? He's even challenging God. But God can hear those challenges when it has nothing to do about you. You see, if you're saying, why are you making it so hard for Am Yisrael, but inside you're really saying, why are you making it so hard for me? God's not gonna answer you. But he says, Lama hare'osa la'amazeh, why are you making it so hard for Am Yisrael? And what does Hashem say? Because it's you that asked, you, the person that acts like that lives like this, atatir, and now I'm going to show you what I could really do. Right? Because he knew that Moshe Rabbeinu asking God, why are you making for Yidden, hard on Yidden? was a real question. It had nothing to do with Moshe Rabbeinu's own stuff. Now, Moshe Rabbeinu could have every legitimate reason to be angry at God for many different reasons. The main one, I did not grow up with my family. That's a pretty harsh one, right? I would say. But Moshe Rabbeinu is never saying it about himself. So again, we don't have to go too far to realize he's really here. It's not that he's a malach. He's the most human. He's the highest human being. That's the nekuda. You know, I once heard Reb Shlomo argue with the Jews for Jesus guy for a very long time. And one of the main things he kept on saying, he said, you know what? Do you know what our whole concept of Mashiach is? Your concept of Mashiach is a non-human human. Our concept of Mashiach is that he's going to be the most perfected human being. Dafka. It's not a malach. It's not a son of God in the way that, I don't want to get too into that right now, but it's dafka mamish, the most perfected human being within humanity, and it is, and as much as it seems impossible, look, it's impossible for any of us to be created by, the way that other religions have, the way this concept of the Son of God and all that. But what's definitely possible, it is possible to reach close to the levels of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's what we're here to do in this world, the Tikkun HaMidot. That is possible within the framework of being a human being.
Wait, I mean, if I look at Moshe Rabbeinu, I don't know if you're right, he was for sure so connected to Am Yisrael that he himself, that was his anava,
right.
So connected to Am Yisrael, but I also look at his relationships, and his relationships are not what I want to take in my relationships. I want to continue developing a relationship with my wife and children. And he couldn't do that anymore. He was on such a level of Am Yisrael that it just stopped.
Right.
Well, did it stop?
Was that?
Yes,
it did stop. It absolutely stopped. He was separate. That was the whole Miriam and Aaron thing. He was separated from them.
Well, yeah, but that's all. That's not pshat. Everything you're saying right now is not what the Torah. Meaning, it's how we learn it out like that, but that's not all
true,
pshat.
that's not the pshat.
Right. You have to differentiate between the two.
But even the fact that Yitro has to come and bring his wife.
No
and
doubt,
children,
absolutely.
That shows that there was a separation. Like, why weren't his wife and children part of this whole story?
But when I close the Hasidic Tales books that I have, when I read about a Rebbe that came home every 3 months, I can't. We can't relate to these things.
Yeah.
It's not the avoda of today, at all.
Kiva.
Kiva, like this is not that those elements of that framework of their life. That's not our avoda today. If you finish reading Buber or someone, I don't know what else, someone else's Hasidic Tales or something, right? And you come to the godly realization that in order to perfect my midas, I really need to just take with me a bottle of water and a loaf of bread, and go to the sichim, go to the bushes here for a week, b'shem Hashem, so that my children could eventually have more. No, it's not. You have to be. We're here, right? Okay, let's finish this piece. That's answering. That's explaining Hashem answering the first question. I see it's not about you, and therefore, that answers Moshe Rabbeinu saying, "Why? What do you see in me?" It's so beautiful. What do you see in me? Hashem is basically saying, "I see me in you. There's so much space in you, I see myself in you. That's what I see in you." Second thing. Now the other question, why are you taking them out? What is it? The Indian, for what? Why are you taking Am Yisrael out? It's clear God does not do what he's doing so that we can enjoy this world. That's not the focus. That cannot be the purpose of something so grand taking place in the Torah, so that there can actually be enjoyment in this world. He says to him, when I take you out, ta'avdun et ha'elokim. He's saying something so crazy. He's saying, you're going to be free from slavery in order to be servants to Hashem. Now you got to be careful there. No.
But Eved Hashem are supposed to be in Eved L'Adonai.
Right, but in Hebrew it's the same word, but the way that we derive it is completely different. It's like a crazy thing. I'm leaving the slavery of Olam Hazeh in order to what? To be completely meshut, to be completely, for Hashem. That's a very deep concept in our Yiddishkeit. When we have freedom, like Reb Shlomo says, we don't have freedom from something. We have freedom to something, to do something. The greatest example that I could share is what the Tel Zarav told Reb Shlomo's father. It's a famous story. I shared with you guys a few times. That there used to be this summer resort called Marimbad in Europe. And many people used to go there. Many tzaddikim went there. The air there was very good. The minerals were very good. And they would go on these, it was like a 1930s health spa for like the From Yidden, right? So one time Reb Shlomo said that his father was walking there and he meets the Tel Zarav. You know Telz, right? The Tel Zarav from the town of Telz. And they were buddies. They were friends. They were friendly with each other. So Reb Shlomo's father says to him, "Oh, Tel Zarav, Shalom Aleichem. What are you doing here? How are you spending your time here?" He says, I'm learning 14 hours a day. So Reb Shlomo said he understood. He's like, the Tel Zarav said, when I'm in Telz, I'm busy with Tzorchei Tzibur all day long. I'm not free at all. I'm completely enslaved in a holy way to the Kehillah. But now that I have freedom, I am freedom to learn. A Yid gets freedom to do something holy, not freedom from doing something holy. So that's a very deep thing. That's what Mei Hashiloach and Reb Shlomo said. That's what he understood. What it means when the Torah is your whole life, that when you have time off, it means you have time for something, not time from something. So Hashem is telling Mei Hashiloach, you're right, good question. It's obviously, I'm not taking you out so that you could not be slaves, because what are you going to do with your time? You have time now to do something, to serve Hashem on this mountain. Hainu, she'achnis etchem tachat uli, ol Torah. I'm going to take you and put you underneath the oak, my oak, ol Torah. Now that word ol is a very tricky word because we don't like that word yoke. We hate that word, yoke. Not because it's egg yolk. I'm saying yoke, we don't like that concept of, it's hard. He's saying the world's concept of hard work and hard labor doesn't make you feel like you want to do more. Hashem is saying to Moshe Rabbeinu, but my concept is something completely different. Anyone knows that whenever you get into good learning, deep learning, whenever you take on a midah, you just want more. You want more. That's likanes tachat ol haTorah, Hashem's yoke, which is a different concept of work than from anything else in the world. And then he says, "Ve'yeli esek imachem." I'm going to be busy with you. We're going to have business together. We're going to deal with each other with what kind of things? Look at the last few words here. Bidvarim hachayim v'kayamim le'olmei ad. We're going to be busy and deal with each other with things that exist forever. Our relationship is going to be built on something that never ends. There's never a quota. You finish and then you move on to the next job, the next gig. This is something that's completely different. So again, these two questions that Moshe Rabbeinu asks Hashem, who am I? And why are you doing this? And what he's really asking is, what do you see in me? And what's the bigger picture of taking Am Yisrael out? Are answered with two beautiful ways, saying, I see you in me because there's none of you in you. You've completely removed yourself from your own yesh, your own being, to the extent that a human being is capable of doing. Real anava, the real deal. And the second to answer, and therefore Hashem says, I could work with you. You and I can do stuff together. And the other thing, and the answer to the second question is what? Why am I taking you out? Because I'm taking you from slavery into freedom in order to now be able to work and do labor. It's a different type of labor. A labor of, I don't want to just say labor of love, labor of meaning. A labor that gets deeper and deeper with every second that we're involved with each other. And that's the esek of the Torah. And the words that he says here, it should be a schus for us, that we should feel bidvarim ish, that whenever we're learning, like you and I are sitting here, we're learning Torah, because it's based on what Hashem told Moshe Rabbeinu, the second answer. Yesh li esek imachem bidvarim achayim v'kayim le'olmei ad. I have business with you. We have dealings that are eternal, that their relevance is eternal. Their relevance is eternal. Not just that they will exist forever, Talmud Torah, bringing you into that mountain, all Torah and mitzvahs, but their relevance to wherever you find yourself in humanity at whatever stage the world is at, whatever age the world is at, Torah always links you back to this conversation with Moshe Rabbeinu by the burning bush. Just to remind you all, and we'll end with this, you really want to be able to have a conversation like this with God? I would love to. I would love to hear those kind of answers as well. It would be amazing. I would love to be able to ask God, what do you see in me? And really, really mean it. And I would love to be able to tell God stuff like, why are you making it so hard for Yidden, and not be thinking about myself in that conversation. So just remind you all the famous gematria that we learned many, many times. The first words that took place in this conversation between Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu were, what did Hashem first tell Moshe Rabbeinu? First thing. What's the first thing that happens in this conversation before this? Huh? Before. What's the first thing? What's the intro? What does Hashem tell Moshe Rabbeinu to do? The first thing. Shal na'alecha ma'al raglecha. Take the shoes off. Take your shoes off your feet. And what did we learn so many times that in Chassidus, Shal na'alecha ma'al raglecha means remove your na'al, which means your locks off your regel, your hergel, your habits. Take the locks off your habits. Meaning remove this dictated way of thinking. This is the way things need to be. Create an openness within you to be open to a new form of relationship. And then we can start talking like this. Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha. That's how they say this in Chassidus. But what's the gematria that we once learned from Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg? Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha is the gematria of the word Bereshit. We started Sefer Bereshit, and according to the Sfarim, the word Bereshit shows up in every single parasha, whether it's a gematria, whether it's a Rashi Tevot, whether it's found in many different ways. And when you find that word Bereshit in the parasha, that's the core of it. Because the whole world is built upon the Torah, and the Torah is built upon the first word, which is Bereshit. So the word Bereshit shows up in every single parsha. And when you find it, you see that's really the core, that's the Petach Hashad. Through that word, you can then understand the rest of the parsha that's happening. So this concept, Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha, which is the gematria of Bereshit, which means at the beginning of entering any relationship with Hashem, at any given point in your life, is dependent on this concept of Shal na'alecha me'al raglecha, which the way that we choose to understand it today is to remove the locks which you've placed on your habits, with that mentality of, Shema, this is me. En ma lasot. That's such a avodah zarah way of thinking. En ma lasot. Ze ani. This is me. That's not a Jewish concept. This is me. This is not. This could be you, but you could be also so much more. We should have enough koach to feel Be'ezrat Hashem, to find that way, that area, to be able to really have a relationship like this with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the extent that we can, and that we should completely remove as much as possible that place of ani. Keep on working on the avoda of the ego to always, that it should never get old. It should never ever get old, and should never feel like, oh, I've done that already, I tried, it doesn't work. Got to keep on going, different avenues, different ways of attacking that place, so that Bezrat Hashem can say, do you know why I'm choosing you? Because there's room for me in our relationship. There's room. There's space. All right, Shekach, everyone. Good Shabbos.